In a moment from now, we'll be talking to Yashwant Deshmukh, who will be reading the political tea leaves for us and giving us his sense on who will win Delhi. I'm Barkha. You're with the Mojo Story. Our focus today is on the big Delhi election and what the outcome will mean for national politics. It seems to be at the moment a fight between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. The Congress seems to be only making noises and doesn't seem to be even fully participating in this election. Meanwhile, Arvind Kejriwal is by all accounts fighting the toughest political battle of his life so far, even though polls, including C voters, suggest that he remains the preferred chief ministerial contender among all other options. Atishi today has made a dramatic claim saying that the BJP is out to take the life of Arvind Kejriwal. Given that the polls suggest that the AAP is in the lead, why are these sort of allegations coming from the Aam Aadmi Party? And where is the Congress and why is it missing in this electoral battle? What does it mean for national politics and for opposition politics? Joining us on the program now is our newsmaker Yashwant Deshmukh, political analyst, political pundit, and of course the man who leads C Voter. Yashwant, it's always a pleasure. I've been looking at your tracker very carefully because you have tried to update the tracker at two or three different intervals. And what's very interesting before we start bringing up the first slide is that there doesn't seem to be any dramatic shift in how people are responding. There may be 1 point upar niche, but largely the campaign doesn't seem to have changed many minds. जो लोगों का mind 1 महीने पहले था वो ही लग रहा है लगभग अभी भी.
Exactly, Barkha, and we are, we are updating on a daily basis with the fresh sampling done across Delhi, and I will be also discussing a little bit on a separate panel which we are running only to gauge the female voters in Delhi, because as I mentioned to you last time, actually BJP has kind of become at par, not even at par. At certain dates, they have polled more traction among the male voters of Delhi, a point or two. But it's really the female voters of Delhi where the gap for Aam Aadmi Party is still significant. And that has not really changed by a lot, particularly after BJP came out with their manifesto of, promising 2,500 for female voters, which is like 400 rupees more than what Aam Aadmi Party is promising. So we were trying to gauge, and we got the initial tranche of data from the female voters that we are gauging. And we did ask them, not just about that, are these things, these kind of declaration, 25, 20, 2100, are they important? Yes, significant chunk of them said yes so far. It's important. We also asked them that whom do you trust more on these kind of things, to actually fulfill the promise. And that is where so far in the initial tranche of data, we have realized that it's on the same line that we have been finding previously that a significant chunk of female voters in Delhi are still saying that they trust Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal more also to deliver on what they are doing. So basically in the next 10 days, Barkha, you can just simply, think of very, very targeted campaign among the female voters by the BJP. I guess that they have realized that they have done the damage, or they have done the task as far as the male voters are concerned. But the real battle is the female voters, and you can see a very concentrated effort now from the BJP to actually focus on that vote.
And so far, your surveys from the ground suggest that the female voters are still leaning more towards Arvind Kejriwal than the BJP.
That's right. So far, they are leaning more towards Arvind Kejriwal than the BJP, not just in terms of partisan support, but also in terms of when you ask them about the chief ministerial candidate as well. What I am observing that the Arvind Kejriwal's personal popularity and Aam Aadmi Party's vote, they are going hand in hand, almost on the same line when we look at the national numbers. So we see that Modi's popularity, in fact, is ahead of the BJP, but he pulls the BJP's vote share up. So in this case, similar kind of phenomena you can say is working as far as Aam Aadmi Party vote and Arvind Kejriwal's personal popularity is concerned.
So the first slide from the C Voter tracker is up on our screen. The most preferred choice of CM, I only picked up the top 3 from your tracker. 47.5% are behind Arvind Kejriwal, and Manoj Tiwari is of the BJP is such a distant second that it actually doesn't count at this point. Now, this takes us to a very interesting question. everybody seems to agree that Arvind Kejriwal is fighting, so far, his toughest political battle. Yet he remains the most preferred choice for chief minister. A, how do you explain that? B, how do you explain why the BJP in particular has not tried to address this by putting forward a face to take on Arvind Kejriwal? Beech mein rumor chala tha ki Smriti Irani can be one such face. Dr. Harshvardhan in the past has been one such face. They've made literally no attempt to generate a personality to take on Arvind Kejriwal. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, this question particularly, Barkha, is completely verbatim. We do not give option in this particular question. Whatever people say verbatim, we code it. But we also experimented, in the last 1 week, that what if we give the option, like, for example, these three options, the top three, I mean, read out the option and then also give an option of, say, some other AAP leader, some other BJP leader, some other Congress leader of sort. So after reading out the option, Kejriwal remains where he is. Manoj Tiwari's numbers actually go up to 30%, and Ajay Makan's numbers go by 2% more. But classically speaking, almost about 10% voters are there who say some other BJP leader as well. So basically, when you look into that, when BJP supporters on their own, they are not really naming Manoj Tiwari big time. It's only about 11-12%. But when you force them that, okay, if BJP gives Manoj Tiwari as an option, then that number goes up to 30%. But still after that, 10% BJP voters are there, they would prefer another BJP leader than Manoj Tiwari. So what I'm simply trying to say, there is no confusion whatsoever between the rank and file of the Aam Aadmi Party. Whatsoever Arvind Kejriwal is there. I mean, a couple of points for Manish Sisodiya and hardly about 1% for Atishi Marlena and like that. But Aam Aadmi Party's vote share is very clear. They want Arvind Kejriwal. As far as BJP vote share is concerned, it's not very clear on whom they want, or largely because BJP has not given them any name. If they would have given name of, for example,
why do you think? Why do you think the BJP has not fielded a personality? Even Manoj Tiwari could have been declared to be ye hamara neta hai, this is our chief ministerial candidate, or at least that kind of projection. The BJP is fighting a sort of leaderless battle in at the local level, and this is very curious because the BJP has swept Delhi consecutively in the Lok Sabha elections and hasn't managed to score a win in the state elections since 1998.
Well, Barkha, I guess that the reason for that thought process behind, among the BJP strategists is that whenever they have played purely on the organizational strength thing, it has worked for them in the assembly elections of Delhi. For example, the last time they became a single largest party in Delhi was 2013 election when Dr. Harshvardhan took BJP to 30 plus seats. They became the single largest. But Dr. Harshvardhan, for all practical matter, is an organizational person. His USP was that he represents organization. He had no charisma. He was purely, his strength was to contest the election on the Karyakarta's views, on the party workers, his affinity with the party workers, and that is. So I guess that they are realizing if they have to contest Delhi, it has to be purely on the organizational strength rather than putting up a face to counter the charisma of Arvind Kejriwal. They are realizing that Arvind Kejriwal's charisma is quite high. They do not have any face, which can actually challenge purely from the charisma point of view to him. So why go in the direction? Why go for a pitch?
Why fight a losing battle? Why fight a losing battle? But theoretically, Smriti Irani could have been one such contender. She does have the charisma.
I guess so, but probably if I was Smriti Irani and I would ask to go for Delhi battle, I would consider that as a demotion of sort in a way. Almost on the line, if you remember, when Sushma ji was asked to take the battle in Delhi, she, as a very, very loyal soldier of BJP, she took that assignment. But in the personal conversation, later on, she was very clear that, I didn't want to take it. It was not really my fight. I think the way Smriti Irani has invested herself in Amethi, and probably she she might look out for better future politics at the national level, and maybe it's in an important state like UP for that matter. You know, I would consider, if I was Smriti Irani, then probably getting into Delhi politics, I would consider that as a kind of demotion of sort.
Let's bring up the second slide from the C Voter Tracker. Is there anger with the Aam Aadmi Party government? Now, I want you to help explain this to me, that how is it that Arvind Kejriwal, as that slide comes up, how is it that Arvind Kejriwal remains by a mile the most preferred candidate for chief minister, but there is significant anger, not insignificant anger, with the Aam Aadmi Party government? So look at this. Yes, 44.8% are angry and want the government to change. 3.1% are angry and do not want it to change. And 48.5%, more people are not angry, right? But a significant number, 45% being angry and wanting the government to change, is not a small number.
No,
How do
it's
you
not
read
a
this
small
number?
number. It's not
How
at
do you
all a
read this
small
number?
number.
So how do we reconcile this number with the personal popularity of Arvind Kejriwal?
So, I mean, if you look at the Arvind Kejriwal's personal number, they are also, I mean, ranging in the tracker between 46 to 49 kind of range, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and they are almost on the same. Those who do not want to change the government and they are not angry are roughly in the 48-49% category, with the same kind of set saying they want Arvind Kejriwal to be the chief minister. But to give you the context, Barkha, 5 years back, this number was somewhere between 55 to 60%. I mean, those who were not angry and wanted to continue.
Right. The AAP was more popular. The
Yeah,
AAP
of
was
course,
more
yes.
popular. Of course,
more
yes.
popular. And that number has come down
Yes.
by 10 to 15%. That's a huge drop if you look at it
Yeah.
that way. So
Yeah.
that drop suggests that gone are the days of the kind of sweep of 67 and 65 kind of thing. I don't think that they are anywhere near that kind of a one-sided superiority in Delhi anymore. But at the same time, in a fight where if they get even convert 48-49% into votes, the problem with the BJP would be that among these 45% who want to change the government, they are not the sole beneficiary of that. There would be a couple of percent going to the Congress as well among that category. And generally speaking, in my past experience, those who are angry but do not want to change the government are the kind of people who are least likely to go out and vote. They are the kind of people who actually sit at home. So the contest will be in the first and the third category, largely speaking.
Yeah.
And there you can sense a gap of 3% if you look into direct figures. But after that, the gap is actually dependent on how much vote actually Congress manages to poll. If Congress manages to poll 5%, that gap will be 8%. If Congress manages to poll 3%, that gap will be 6%. And Congress wipes out the gap is around 3%, which is pretty much in the margin of error. And that is where the floodgates open, that of the possibilities.
So let's talk about the Congress for just a moment before we actually look at your next slide. I was interviewing Sandeep Dixit, and one of the things he said, we'll play out a little clip for you. One of the things he said is that he feels at times lonely in the Congress. He feels like a little bit of a lone warrior in the Congress. And he also feels not just did his party fail to defend his mother, Sheila Dixit, but that they have not actually found a way to use her legacy even in this campaign. And one of the things he reminded me of was that Arvind Kejriwal had mocked his mother for having 12 air conditioners in her official residence. And then he said, "Ab aaj dekhiye, inka sheesh mahal dekhiye." It is like life turning full circle. So I just want to play out that little clip and talk a little bit about the Congress. Take a look.
My daughter keeps telling me, Papa, don't ever say that. Hota hai wo filmon mein. If your husband comes back too much to you with a rose and says, "I love you," probably having an affair. It is maybe aesthetically, I have a very different outlook to things, but it is a little almost, I would say, I don't want to use the word, but probably very cheap.
That's what he said in the end, that it is, I don't want to use that word, but the bungalow is cheap. Now the Congress, I mean, Sandeep Dixit is like a lone warrior. The Congress, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi didn't even show up for his Nyaya Yatra, for the Nyaya Yatra that the party organized. How do you look at what's happening to the Congress?
I feel for Sandeep, actually. Not just Sandeep, even I, for that matter, even though they don't belong to the same team, I also feel for Ajay Makan. In the last 4 years, Ajay was the main guy who was taking, Aam Aadmi Party to the laundry on the liquor scam and everything. So Congress did everything. And for Sandeep, I definitely feel a lot because his mother, even today in our trackers, comes out as the number one chief ministerial face. That that the best ever chief minister Delhi has got almost huge majority of Delhi says Sheila Dikshit. So obviously those things did not stick, and unfortunately for Sheila ji, she had to pay the price for the anti-incumbency against the UPA 2 government, and the anger against the UPA 2 government, the Nirbhaya case and everything. That entire Anna Andolan, everything piled on. So basically, it was, if that wouldn't have been there, probably Sheila Dikshit would have won 4th term in a row. I mean, that lady, even after losing so badly in the assembly election, Barkha, for all practical matters, she did actually became the second party to Congress as the second party in the 2 Lok Sabha elections, back to back, 14 and 19, and to actually see that Congress actually dumped her such a brilliant legacy, wonderful legacy, it's heartbreaking, honestly. For a simple reason that for anybody who has lived and worked in Delhi, we remember her very, very fondly, not just in person, but as the chief minister. The kind of development that Delhi has seen in those 15 years was unprecedented. And she worked with the same LG which was under the BJP. There was no friction whatsoever. But look at Congress. The other day I was looking at the Congress hoardings. There was no picture of Sheila Dikshit.
And Sandeep Dikshit said this. I asked him about this and he said they don't even know how to use her legacy. My mother died hurt that her own party had not defended her.
I mean, if I was the Congress strategist, I would not even put up a photo of my candidate. I would simply put up Sheila Dikshit's photo with Congress and saying, Sheila ji ke सम्मान में Congress को वोट दीजिए. Sheila ji को याद करके Congress को वोट दीजिए. Sheila Dikshit जी का बदला लेने के लिए Congress को वोट दीजिए. Whatsoever I could have thought of, but the only USP that the Congress had in Delhi was Sheila Dikshit. They have in Delhi is her legacy, and they have just managed to dump it. I mean, how stupid is that you cannot even put her photograph in your campaign material? I mean, how exactly and where are you? You minus Sheila Dikshit from the Congress. What exactly is the Congress in Delhi after that? So, I mean, that's why I said that I feel for Sandeep on that ground, that, he's actually fighting a very lonely battle. I mean, we know what will be New Delhi, I mean, the assembly segment seat, but the problem is, Sandeep's seat against Arvind Kejriwal, where Pravesh Verma is also contesting, it's a lone case, it's a basket case, that fight versus the fight on the rest of the 69 seats. I mean, they are 2 different trajectories. We don't know what the outcome will be, but I do not really see Congress in even properly 5 seats where I can say they are in a respectable contest kind of position. When I say respectable, where you get some traction of going into double-digit vote share, I do not find even 5 seats in Delhi. 65 seats, they are literally squandering of, they are nowhere in the race at this point of time. I don't know.
And it's worth remembering that more than 60 Congress candidates lost their security deposit. I think 63 out of 66, 63 candidates lost their security deposit in 2020, Congress candidates. And for them to not even own the Sheila Dikshit legacy, whereas the only person today that a Delhi resident will remember vis-a-vis a Kejriwal will say, "Wo Sheila ji ki Delhi, wo tab Delhi theek thi."
Exactly, and they've just lost it. They've squandered it, and yes, don't be surprised. I mean, I'm not saying any doomsday scenario kind of thing, but I would be very, very surprised that if the huge, overwhelming majority of the Congress candidates lose their deposits again, and their numbers might compete with the Nota numbers, a big number of them. And so that's a very, and if you compare within the same tracker even today, if you compare that situation with the numbers that Sheila Dikshit ji even today gathers as the best ever chief minister of Delhi, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't go in line and length in that way. ये कैसे हो सकता है? ये ऐसा हो रहा है. So that's a sorry state for the Congress to be in. Unfortunately,
Yeah. So the fight is really between the BJP and the AAP, and that takes us to our next slide. We've looked at the anger with the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, what do people feel about their MLAs? It's important to remember that the overwhelming number of MLAs are from the Aam Aadmi Party, and once again, that division seems to be there. What is your opinion of your MLA? You see this. It says 40.8% are happy with their MLAs. I've paraphrased a little bit of your language there, Yashwant, for the purpose of the graphic. Are you happy with your MLA? Do you think he or she should win again? 40.8% say yes, we're happy. But 41.6% say not happy, we'd like somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
Now, once again, this tells me that if either of the challenging parties had taken this election, I don't know, maybe the BJP has decided that we want the Haryana model in Delhi. We don't have a dominant face, we're going to fight this some other way. But because it does tell you that there is enough of a section in Delhi that isn't happy with their local MLAs.
Oh yes. That's why even Aam Aadmi Party went on a chopping spree that okay, they want to replace many senior faces, MLA faces.
Yeah.
On the few of the seats, very interestingly, Barkha, my team was telling me they were mentioning 2 seats, if I'm not wrong, where actually BJP has gone ahead and given Aam Aadmi Party MLA the ticket. They have switched. And they say that BJP could have easily won those seats if they would have given their own candidate rather than this sitting MLA. I mean, this Aam Aadmi Party. So basically, those are the seats also worth looking for where the turncoats have been given ticket. Largely speaking, it looks like that public is not liking the turncoats. So we'll keep an eye on when the results come in, and we'll do an analysis on separately on that, what could have been the scenario. But having said that, a significant chunk of MLAs have gathered substantial anti-incumbency because it's their 3rd term in a row, 4th term they are contesting. So that is likely to impact that. That also is pretty much underlined with the fact that big leaders have changed their constituencies. I mean, come to think of Manish Sisodiya. He was forced to change his seat simply because the seat has turned against him. So, and by the way, Manish Sisodiya is not the kind of candidate who is high flyer, unavailable, dimag kharab ho gaya. Aisa nahi hai. Manish Sisodiya is a kind of candidate who has been fondly remembered. But still, if Manish Sisodiya kind of candidate also had to face this kind of anti-incumbency at micro level, imagine how many others must be facing the heat.
Yeah. So let's go to the next slide, which talks about the impact of Arvind Kejriwal's jail term. Now, one would have thought, that such a dramatic development, it's going to affect the election one way or the other. But if we look at these numbers, Yashwant, help me out here. This is a bit of a confusing response to me, right? Because 35.8% in the C voter survey believe that it will increase the BJP votes. 31.4% believe it will have no impact, right? 7.5% believe it will increase the other parties' votes, which means the dominant percentage believe it will help the others, not Arvind Kejriwal. Yet Arvind Kejriwal is right. Am I right?
No, I mean actually, yeah. I mean it's a very very taggy thing. I understand where you're coming from. So what we did to understand this, we did a partisan and party politics analysis of where did they vote for in the last election, and we figured out that the huge chunk of people who are saying no impact are actually Aam Aadmi Party supporters. For them it's a non-issue kind of sort. So to make sense of this thing, you have to actually add number 1 and number 4 together. Then it will make, so that emotion is going together. The 14.5 and 31, approximately 45% people are saying it's not important, it's not impact, and in fact, I am more assertively going to vote for Aam Aadmi Party because BJP has done that out of political, thing rather than any real case against Kejriwal. But approximately 40% of them, 35%, 36% of them are kindly BJP voters that they are saying BJP's votes are going to increase. It's a very, very partisan answer. A huge chunk of the number 4 option, no impact, is actually Aam Aadmi Party.
Right. Yes, looked at like that. Maybe I was combining the wrong two data points there. Very interesting. Uh, the next slide talks about what is the most important factor. And I found this to be a particularly interesting slide. One, because I'm very angry that air pollution is not a bigger issue. If we can please bring up the next slide. But also the fact that the Modi factor, and here, because you've had a continuous tracker, in the beginning of the month, Modi was a little over 7%. The number slightly come down. Only 6.6% people say that Modi is a big factor or an important factor for them in the assembly election. So the Delhi voter is very clearly distinguishing between Lok Sabha and this election. And then look at the rest. It's all very fragmented. There is no one big overwhelming issue, which is why this election is feeling a bit phika, it's feeling a bit sort of thaka hua. I don't know. How do you look at these numbers?
There is no umbrella issue. There is no umbrella issue whatsoever.
Correct.
In fact, even among when we were tracking the female voters, the partial data that we got, we thought that the schemes launched for the females, the 2100, 2400, 2500 schemes, they would at least take the lion's share of this sentiment that where exactly it's going. It is not. Yes, it is important for about 20% females in Delhi, but it's not that as if the female scheme has taken over the entire thing, and so it is a fragmented of sort. There is no narrative. The two narratives earlier, first narrative was the anti-corruption, thing when 13 and 14, 15 election happened. I guess that 2020 election had the larger narrative of freebies and the continuation of that. Now that the Prime Minister has said we'll continue the freebies, they will give 2100, we will give 2500. So it's a much more level playing field. But unfortunately, it also tells us that there is no big narrative of sort among the people, and these parties have actually failed in making something which to pin down upon. That pinning down is not happening. So that also tells us, Barkha, that this could be a very hyper local election of a kind of municipality of sorts. Because like water management is an issue in one seat. Electricity is another one, roads are in the third one, and something else in the fourth one. And eventually you realize that, okay, every seat is going on their own. And if you add in the performance of the sitting MLAs, if you look into the verbatims of different reports, I do check on the interviews that are being taken by our researchers, and also take a debriefing on what qualitative options they have to say. And they come up with zillion kind of thing with the anger against the sitting MLAs as well. कुछ नहीं किया है, पानी देखिए काला पानी आ रहा है, नहीं बहुत अच्छा किया है, नहीं कुछ नहीं हुआ. And those kind of things are so fractionalized in that way that it is very difficult, very, very difficult to see a interweaving theme of sort, barring that one theme that, okay, freebies deliver hui hain, or there used to be a kind of a fear factor among a section of swing voters that BJP aa jayegi to ye khatam kar degi bijli pani wala. Now that PM has said that we will continue, even that part is gone. So that fear theme is also not there. Whatever is there probably is just that, okay, Kejriwal might be seen as a person who will deliver for 48, 47% people, and they would, whatever they feel like, they will go out and vote. And Aam Aadmi Party, by and large, I can say, is pretty structured in that way in their county polity management. They are good. They are not that bad. But earlier 2-3 elections, they were run by volunteers. I am told that they are no more volunteers, they are paid workers. Now, the difference being a volunteer and a paid worker is that eventually on that day, they may work, no doubt about that. But the energy level or enthusiasm level of a volunteer, Barkha, is a different game altogether. And that is something which delivered Haryana and Maharashtra to the BJP, even Jammu to the BJP. And if RSS goes on and that line, then they might get an upswing of the same kind of enthusiasm which Aam Aadmi Party got benefited in 15 election and maybe in 20 election of the enthusiasm of volunteers. So it's a hyper localized election, and eventually it would be the bench strength, the organizational strength, how the relative turnout of different vote support bases, कितनी ताकत उस दिन polling वाले दिन लगेगी, that would be an interesting factor to observe, and that will decide where it's going.
And that is what makes it still a competitive battle where the BJP, though despite Mr. Kejriwal being the most preferred contender for chief minister, the BJP still believes it has a chance in the game.
Absolutely. They do believe that they have a chance in the game. And when they say that we don't need a face, we won Odisha without a face. I mean, it's a point you have to concede. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can win with a popular chief minister like Naveen Babu without a face, purely on organizational strength and going against the local anti-incumbency, pretty much it is the same thing in Delhi. So having said that, I cannot just brush off when the BJP leaders tell me on my face in the panel that, okay, you know what, we are going to pull it off. Your data doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I cannot argue with that. That's something we have, all of us have burnt our fingers on.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it in Haryana. We have seen it in Odisha, where there is one dominant personality in terms of recall as a personality, and the result is very different because it's a hyper-local election. In the end, how will Delhi impact national politics in terms of both scenarios? I'm not counting a Congress win because I don't think anybody believes, even the Congress doesn't believe it can happen. Arvind Kejriwal comes back, maybe not with the same numbers, but comes back. The BJP doesn't manage to dislodge him. And of course, then if the BJP does manage to dislodge him, that's a whole different scenario. The big picture, Yashwant.
I think the big picture at the national level is not good for the Congress. I mean, I guess that the 99 seat Halla Gulla and the aggression after that, that followed up, that will take this will take the toll, because Kejriwal becoming CM again, that's not going to be good for the Congress. BJP becoming taking on the forming the government, that's hardly any consolation to them either. So either ways, at the national level, I guess that this is going to be a very, very hard reality check for the Congress leadership. BJP, even if they manage to become a significantly big opposition party, if even if they manage to cross 20, 25 kind of thing, if they win, then of course it is going to be a big jump for the BJP and in the mindset and everything. But even if they bring Arvind Kejriwal's number down by 20, 15 seats, they are going to be very, very aggressive after that. Nationally speaking, this is trouble for the opposition alliance, and we are already looking at Mamata Banerjee's assertion, Uddhav Thackeray and Akhilesh Yadav saying they are supporting Arvind Kejriwal within the opposition rank and file, and this will put Congress under tremendous pressure as far as the Bihar seat alliance is concerned. Tejasvi Yadav is not going to give them even an inch, which is rightly so. Last time he did blunder by giving them 70 plus seats to Congress, where they did not manage to win anything over there as such. So Congress will be under tremendous pressures. They will concede a lot of ground to Tejasvi Yadav in Bihar, which is the next pending election within few months from now. And the bargaining power of Congress is going to go down. And many of these opposition leaders who are the chief ministers in their respective states, they are likely to probably cut a deal in a way that, they have to run the states, BJP has to run the center. So they might like to have a
better working relationship with the center.
With the BJP. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very interesting times ahead, Yashwant. We look forward to the Mood of the Nation survey that I'm sure you're working on next.
We are working on that's many of friends have been asking, ye to 26 January ko aata hai, kya hua? But that has been postponed by 2 weeks simply because Delhi elections were announced, and now that we don't want to conflict it with that.
Fair enough. Talk to you soon again, and especially
Talk to
on
you soon.
Counting Day. Always a pleasure. Take care. See you soon.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye, Yashwant. Bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.